In Matthew 11, the passage that we read earlier, Jesus is giving us an invitation both to rhythm and to rest. To understand kind of the drama of what Jesus is saying in Matthew 11, it's helpful to kind of peek forward into Matthew 12. In Matthew 12, twice, Jesus is challenged by religious leaders of the day about whether or not Jesus is keeping the Sabbath, the Jewish holy day that was originally set aside for rest and reflection. However, what the religious leaders want to do in Matthew 12 is they want to twist rest into a collection of rules to follow and made what was meant to be a day of rest and renewal and made it about people's ability to follow rules rather than about God's generosity. And because of this perversion of the Sabbath, Jesus accuses them of condemning those who are innocent in the eyes of God. So on the one hand, you have those who kind of stand in resistance to Jesus, saying essentially, after you work as unto the Lord, you ought to come to the end of your week, and what you find there is more work and more rules and more self-centered sacrifice. And it's in contrast to that Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Even in Jesus' words here, there's a recognition that work is a part of life and a part of what it means to follow Jesus. So saints, let me say this. I am glad that you're here with each other. I'm glad that you're here with me and that we're worshiping together and that we're reminding one another of God's love and God's promises and God's healing and God's liberation and God's salvation. It's right for us to be here this morning. And tomorrow, when you're grilling your Nathan's hot dogs or, cooking out or whatever, and on Tuesday, when you're filing in and readying for your staff meetings or you're logging in to Zoom rooms, that God is also with you in those places and in those moments as well. They are holy, just as this moment is holy. You're on mission there. You have spiritual purpose there, just as you had spiritual purpose when we were cleaning up this campus or when we were distributing backpacks. Jesus is affirming that work is a part of what it means to follow Him. But there's a cadence to what Jesus is saying. There's a rhythm to His invitation. Come to me, find rest. Work with me, and you will find rest. Take from me, my burdens are light. There's a back and forth. There's a beat to it. It's a melody that anchors on Christ. And I do fear that our work productivity grind, that our work lives have become, they become something that is missing this rhythm that Jesus is extending to us, and it's to the detriment of our lives. All of creation, humanity included, was created for work, but we were also created for rhythms. We were created to follow a beat or a pulse or a cadence, and that rhythm includes rest. God worked to create the world in 6 days, and then God rested. There's life cycles and water cycles. There's patterns and seasons. The leaves fall in the autumn. They're reborn in the spring. As spoken word artist Harry Baker, who lives on the British coastal town of Margate, in a piece he wrote reflecting, he says this: I've been looking up the tide times. Imagine where and when you go, decided by the phases of the moon, knowing that you are a part of something that's so much bigger than you. Oceans, as big as they are, they have rhythms too. Modern lifestyles, they can give us few reminders of these life rhythms that we were meant to keep. We used to start and stop with sunrises and sunsets. Lives used to follow the agricultural seasons of planting and harvesting, and seasons when the ground was to lay fallow and empty so the soil could rest. But now we live in a 24/7 world. Constantly at work, constantly plugged in, turned on, and well lit, yet still expected to be fruitful year-round. Where we once rested when the sun laid its head below the horizon, now we work into the dark, driven to create our own light in the middle of the night.